Students, thank y'all for being here. I know y'all are very busy graduate students and it's a very busy time of year. So I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you. And Berg Compliance Solutions, we have Matt Travieso, Russell Carr, and Tracy Branch. And I just want to say thank y'all to y'all as well. I know that y'all are very busy as well. And so we appreciate y'all being here virtually to do this presentation for our students. And let's give them a warm Texas A&M welcome.
Thank you. All right. So Matt, if we can get started. All right. So hello again and welcome. Thanks again to Texas A&M and to you, Dr. Green, for arranging this, taking the time to learn more about our company and employment opportunities. We appreciate it also. As you mentioned, my name is Russell Carr. I'm the founder of the company. Before getting started, I want to let you know that we plan to talk for about 25 minutes or so, and we're going to divide the presentation into two sections. In the first half, I'm going to talk about the company, how we do things, that kind of thing. And then I'm going to hand it over to Tracy and Matt, two of our current consultants who will tell you a little bit more about what it's like to work here and what it's like to be a consultant. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to move pretty quickly through the information. But if you have any questions, we'll have a Q&A section or session at the end, and we can stay as long as needed if we have to do that. So here's what we're going to cover. I'm going to start off talking about a kind of a company overview, which will cover basic information about who we are, industries that we serve, as well as the regulations that we help our clients manage. Then I'm going to talk about our company purpose, why we do what we do, our services. Then I'll talk about our company growth plans, a little bit about what our clients have to say, and also a little bit how we give back. And then I'll go into detail about who we're looking for to join our team as far as culture fit, personality traits that we look for, and people who align with our company purpose. And I'll talk a lot about our company purpose. Then I'll hand things off again, like I said, to Tracy and Matt, so they can tell you, like I said, more about what it's like to work here and what it's like to be a consulting, all the learning opportunities and experiences that they've had. And then I'll jump back in at the end to tell you more about the role and how to apply if you're interested in doing so. All right, Matt, next. All right, so company, what's that? I thought I heard somebody ask something. Anyway, we're a third-party environmental health and safety consulting company. We're located in Austin, in the northwest part of town, if you know Austin at all, off 183. We work primarily in Texas, but we also work all across the country. We've been in business since 2013. We currently have 5 consultants on staff. And we use a hybrid model. We have an office, but we've always been hybrid, even before the pandemic. So as you're probably aware, next, I'm sorry, Matt. As you're probably aware, the environmental health and safety consulting world as a whole is very broad, but our focus is very narrow. In other words, we don't do things like remediation, spill response, phase 1 and 2 assessments, and that kind of thing. Instead, we focus our marketing and services towards 3 really narrow sectors that include manufacturing of all kinds, industrial companies, which could be warehousing, distribution, recycling, that kind of thing. And then we also work with construction companies, including general contractors and specialty trade contractors. And Matt and Tracy, they're going to tell you a little bit more about that when they talk. I also want to point out about, talk about industries that we don't serve. So we don't do any oil and gas. We don't do agriculture. We don't do maritime. We don't work in government contracts, entertainment, or fleet safety. Next, Matt, thank you. And then now let me talk about some of the regulations that we help our clients manage. On the workplace health and safety side, we focus a lot on 1910 general industry standards and also OSHA 1926 construction, as well as 1904 injury and illness and record keeping. And we also deal with other agencies that OSHA commonly refers to, like NFPA, ANSI, ACGIH, and NIOSH. And then on the environmental and hazardous materials side, we help companies build and manage federal EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and state TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality regulations like RCRA, industrial waste regulations, stormwater, air emission authorizations, SPCC, as well as hazardous materials reporting like Tier 2 and EPCRA. And sometimes we help companies deal with local fire department regulations. So again, it's important to understand we do safety and we do environmental. Some consulting companies either focus on one or the other, but not both. We do both. Next, Matt. Now I'd like to talk about in detail about something that's really important to us, and that's our company purpose. In other words, why we do what we do. And we divide our purpose into two areas. First, how we serve our clients, and second, how we serve our employees. I'm going to talk in more detail about both right now. Next, please. So in order to explain our core purpose on the client side, the first step is to point out the fact that we focus on working with small companies primarily to help them manage environmental health and safety, compliance, and risk issues. And what I mean by that is that all of our marketing, all of our processes, all of our services, the way we do things is really centered around the needs of small companies. I'm going to talk a lot more about why that is. And, that doesn't mean that we don't work with large companies too, because we do. Our bread and butter, so to speak, and the majority of our clients have less than 100 employees, and a lot of them have less than 50 employees. Next. Now let me explain why we focus on working with small companies, which brings us a little bit closer to our core purpose. So the fact is that small companies have the same regulatory requirements, burden, and risks of their much larger counterparts, but are almost always least equipped to deal with those responsibilities due to a common lack of internal expertise, time, and resources that are needed to not only understand the regulations, but keep up with compliance. So in other words, small companies, especially these days, they run lean and mean with barely enough manpower and resources, to keep products going out the door and maintain profitability, leaving very little left over for compliance issues. Next. And the problem with this dilemma is that it often results in a perpetual state of non-compliance for the company, which puts the company, their employees, the local environment at elevated risk for major liabilities, including serious injuries, sometimes even fatalities, damage to the environment, failed regulatory inspections, big fines, public relations nightmares, and very serious legal problems if things go wrong. And so when these things happen, and unfortunately they do every single day across the country to small companies, it can literally devastate, and in some cases even ruin a company. And unfortunately, I've seen these scenarios play out, over and over again throughout my career. And it's one of the main reasons that I founded Berg. Next. So having said all that, now we arrive at our core purpose, which is this. So we help small companies protect their employees, local communities, the environment, and their businesses from harm by achieving OSHA and EPA compliance with the final underlying goal of zero accidents and zero environmental impacts. And of course, obviously, that's the goal of any safety program. But the fact is that those goals are out of reach for most small companies for all the reasons that I just talked about. But we're trying to change that. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that sounds like something you can get excited about and behind, because that's really what we do. Next. So that, to build on that kind of begs the question, how exactly do we help our clients achieve these goals? And there's actually a lot of different ways that we do this, but at the core of it is a service that we call Assured Compliance, which is our partnership environmental health and safety service. And with that service, we essentially become the environmental health and safety department for our clients. And there's a lot I can say about the service, but we don't have a lot of time today. So let me summarize, by saying that it's been a really great business model for us. And we end up working with most of our clients for many years, which allows us to develop very strong relationships with, company leadership, frontline staff. And they really end up relying on us to help deliver on that goal of zero accidents and zero environmental impacts. And keep in mind that we do other services too, but Assured Compliance is kind of at the core of what we do in our bread and butter. And then, of course, our other core purpose is serving our employees. And here's how we summarize how we do that. So our goal is We give our employees the best training, coaching, mentoring, and overall opportunity to expand and maximize their environmental health and safety and leadership skills and experience. So in other words, the thought of learning about all these different environmental regulations that impact manufacturing and construction and industrial type companies sounds interesting to you. Maybe we'd be a good fit for your career path. Let me talk briefly about our growth plans, which can be summarized by saying that we plan to, quote unquote, conquer our target market in Texas over the next 5 years. And when I talk about conquering Texas, I'm talking about, again, just our narrow target market, which is, small companies, small manufacturing, small industrial, small construction companies. And, we just want to be known as a go-to EHS consulting resource for that market. So in Austin, we want to expand from our current staff of 3 to 5 consultants. In Houston, we have 1, Tracy in Houston now. We want to expand that to 3. Then we want to have 2 future full-time people in Dallas, Fort Worth area, also in San Antonio. Next. And then briefly, I want to talk about, what our clients have to say, which is really important. We can sit here and talk all day long about how great we are and how good of a company we are, but it's totally different, when it comes, when the words come from our clients who have real life experience working with us. So I'm not going to show you any during this presentation, but if you're interested, feel free to do a Google search for our company name, and you can read a lot of our Google 5-star reviews. And you can also go to our website and check out our testimonials and case studies on our website where clients have more feedback about what it's like to work with us. Next, please, Matt. I also want to talk real briefly about how our company gives back. A few years ago, I researched many different charities to determine which have the greatest positive impact. Most money going to those that are in need rather than administration and that kind of thing. And those companies that help really focus on helping people and animals, and learn that these 3 really stand out. So that's World Food Program, International Fund for Animal Welfare, and International Rescue Committee. So we give equally to each one of these charities every month and have for a long time. All right, so now let me talk about who we're looking for, our ideal team member. We spend a lot of time and effort defining all the criteria that we evaluate during the interview process to determine the best possible fit, and really, to be honest, trying to find the highest performers. And we break this down into the following 4 areas. Number 1, culture fit. Then the personality traits that we look for. We look for people who have interest in both safety and environmental, and having people who have an appreciation to our company purpose that I talked about before, working with small companies. So let's go into a little bit more detail on each one of these. So let's talk about company culture. So our company culture can be summed up in 2 words, which is fun, vigilance. And as we run through more details about our company culture, I think you'll see what I mean by that. So at the top of the list, again, fun. We're serious professionals. We do serious work, but that doesn't mean that we can't have fun while we're doing it. So when we meet as a team with our clients, with each other, going to lunch, we try to keep things light and easy and laugh as much as possible. And that's the truth. We do try to have fun while we're working. Work, this isn't a sweatshop, but we're here to work. So that means that we come to work every day. We come to work on time, and we work hard when we're working. Process driven. This is not a place for spontaneity, improvisation, or making things up as you go along. And that's kind of why we've developed that proprietary step-by-step process in assured compliance that we always follow without exception, because people's lives and safety depend on it. Then accountability. We don't make excuses, period. We don't lie. We don't blame. We accept responsibility for our errors and omissions and always strive to learn from them and get better. We always go over and above. We don't settle. We believe in excellence in everything that we do, especially when serving our clients. We always go above and beyond to help ensure fantastic outcomes. It's how we've made raving fans out of our clients, and how we've gotten all those Google 5-star reviews that are so important for the growth of the company. And then finally, career development. And back to our employee focus, we're committed to the growth, happiness, and engagement of our employees. We support each team member by always encouraging them to be thinking of ways to better utilize their talents and interests and expand their skills and knowledge. We have routine conversations to help them make their ideas come to life, and our aggressive growth plans will provide exciting new opportunities for them. And next. So let me briefly talk about some of the personality traits that we look for, not only for working for our company, but I think these really apply to any environmental health and safety person. A high emotional IQ. You've got to be able to, deal with people, obviously. Humility, being responsible and accountable, like I talked about before. Being resilient, implementing and managing safety programs, boy, it's not easy. So you've got to keep fighting and be resilient and overcome obstacles. On a related note, you got to be patient. You have to have high professional standards, strong written and verbal communication skills. We look for people that have a real strong serving, helping attitude, which is critical in safety. People that are proactive, people that are process-driven, detail-oriented, perseverance, kind of related to resilient, but different. And we're looking for strong leadership, coaching, and mentoring skills and desires. For our company to get where we want to go, we have to hire recent graduates like you. And we want people who are strong leaders, who like the idea of coaching and mentoring people who are new to the industry to get them up to speed. And again, like I mentioned before, we're looking for people who are interested in learning and practicing both on the health and safety side and the environmental and hazardous materials side. And I know, some people want to focus on one or the other, and I understand that and respect that, but we're looking for people who are interested in both. And finally, we're looking for people, like I mentioned before, who believe in, support our company purpose, which is helping those small at-risk companies to manage compliance and risk. All right, so thank you for listening. And now I'm going to hand it over to Tracy and Matt and let them tell you more about what it's like to work here. And then I'll jump back in at the end to talk a little bit more about the role.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tracy Branch, and Matt and I are going to introduce ourselves on the next couple of slides. We're also going to talk about the industries and the clients that we serve. We will give you an idea of the day in the life of a Berg consultant. What is the common things that we often do? We will also talk a little bit about our own learning opportunities and to give you an idea of your possibilities for yourselves. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between consulting and being an in-house safety professional, as well as we'll return it back over to Russell to talk about benefits and compensation and how to apply, and then open it up to questions and answers. So my name is Tracy Branch. I have been doing health, safety, and environment for more than 30 years. I am a graduate of Texas A&M way back in the 80s. And some of the things that I find fascinating by doing consulting work is just the technologies that I am introduced to by going to so many different types of clients and industries. For example, 3D printing of a number of different types of products that we've seen, from little tiny parts that go into car engines to 3D printing for building structures. So there's a lot of things that we see that if I worked for a single company, I would not have exposure to. So it's one of the great things about consulting. I've also had the opportunity to hone my skills in a lot of areas where I shared responsibility in the past. And so by having the sole responsibilities for the clients that I serve, I've really sharpened my skills in industrial hygiene and monitoring for different substances that their employees could be exposed to. I've also sharpened my environmental knowledge where I have managed programs and always knew the overarching requirements, but never had to get into the details and the nitty-gritty. And that's pretty much when you're a consultant, you got to know it all. You got to know the details as well as the overall requirements. And so I've had the opportunity to really improve in that area. The other thing that I've really found interesting is by having manufacturing and construction clients, I can really kind of see some of the differences and the similarities, and how, you know, just dealing with people and companies that really care about their employees and how we really make a difference.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. So I'm Matt Travieso. My background is in warehouse logistics and safety. My master's is in public health from University of Arizona, but my undergrad is in psychology from University of Houston. So I've been on the team for a couple of months now, and just got to say, coming from a background mostly in general industry, being able to experience new things such as industrial hygiene monitoring, a whole slew of industries, which I'll get to in a little bit, as well as getting my toes wet, pun intended, with some stormwater and environmental. So a lot to say about what it's like to go from, in-house safety and previously Army veteran, and that's a whole different level of safety, into consulting, where you get to see a little bit of everything. So here's some of the industries and processes that we go through and that we've experienced here and that we work with. So diesel reclamation, concrete tunneling. So if y'all have ever heard of the Boring Company, one of Elon Musk's companies, they've been one of our clients before. A lot of 3D printed materials, especially in Austin and San Antonio. Yeti, if you've ever heard of them, they're one of our clients as well. So we get to see a little bit of all sorts of different areas in manufacturing specifically, as well as just kind of industrial type things like semiconductors and recycled products. In terms of construction, literally from a building that's just a dirt lot all the way to a finished maybe 3-story parking lot or store or quick time or quick trip mart, whatever it may be. Every part of that process is a process that we have some sort of hand in, from literally digging and pouring concrete to seeing people working on scaffolding to welding on frames. So you get to see the whole gamut of the construction process here at Berg. And I'll hand it over to Tracy.
So a few of the clients that we serve are represented here with their logos, such as El Milagro Tortillas. I like to eat, so I'm always going to bring them up. We've worked with a number of solar energy companies, so really kind of helping that green energy come to fruition in our environment. Even Lincoln companies that do welding work, and Sitterly Homes, you may have seen if you're from around the Austin area, that are really big in residential home building. So we have just a wide gamut of clients and different products that they actually make. And we really enjoy working with all of them. So what does it look like to be a consultant? What would your day actually be like? So typically we will have a site visit with one of our clients. So throughout the week, we will visit a client anywhere from 1 to maybe 4 days out of the week where you're doing a client visit. That client visit means you're going to connect with the contact that's there, a manager or the owner of the company. They're expecting you to deliver a certain number of services for them, starting with training. We do a site inspection each time we're there. We look at opportunities to improve their compliance. So we're looking at their compliance activity, such as did they do certain types of inspections, maybe a forklift inspection that's required on a daily basis. We actually look to see that they're doing those things to ensure, as Russell talked about, ensure their compliance with all of the requirements. So our customers, our clients are not going to know all of the details. It's our responsibility to make sure they understand all of the different things that they're going to have to do. And some of them we do for them, and some they do for themselves. We're involved in their safety committee. we either lead the committee if they're not very mature in their safety program, but if they've been doing it for a while, a lot of times they want to lead their own committee and we're participants and help support them in the activities of the committee. And we finally create an inspection report for that day's visit to give feedback to the client. So that is a typical day as a consultant.
In terms of learning opportunities, I know I hit them on the head a little bit earlier. You get a lot of industrial hygiene monitoring, different types of assessments, not just your everyday inspection, but compliance assessments as well as risk assessments, a little bit even beyond, your basic, hey, is this an OSHA regulation? But hey, this could increase the risk to your company. We cover OSHA programs and how to implement them, which is a big part that a lot of operators may not be aware of. In terms of how to make it happen in reality outside of a manual. And then environmental programs, technical writing is a big thing too. You're going to need to be able to understand how to intake what might be more scientifical reports, like something from an industrial hygienist from a monitoring event, and then turn that into something that anyone can understand. And then training, development, and delivery. So you'll be using either a template or, depending on what kind of company it is, you may be creating training that you'll be giving to the employees and the managers as well. And then being able to effectively communicate. If you want to learn how to communicate effectively, this is a place to do it. You get to talk to all different types of people in all different areas with all different backgrounds. So you really get exposed to just about anyone that you could ever get exposed to out there in the world. And then consulting versus single company role, I'll just briefly hit this one. So in consulting, if you want to boil it down, you have the ability to scale your safety influence across multiple companies, not just one. So if you're really in this to impact people's lives, and their well-being, then you can't be consulting, because instead of having, maybe one company of 300 employees or one company of 500 employees, you might have 10 companies of 100 employees. So being able to scale that across multiple companies, you can't beat that. And you get to focus on the people and their safety over the operation of the product, because you're an outside source coming into the company, so you won't have that kind of resource competition that you'll see with in-house safety. So that's really the biggest difference between single company and consulting. Now I'll give it over to Russell.
All right, thanks Tracy and Matt, great job. And everybody, I'll wrap up here just by explaining the role and how to apply. So the title is Apprentice Environmental Health and Safety Consultant. It's a full-time W-2 employee role. Essentially, it's a 6 to 9 month intensive training program that's going to include a lot of field work, a lot of administrative work, report writing, that kind of thing. Give you a real good feel for the entire consulting spectrum, what we do on a day-to-day basis during that time period. And then you transition into an independent staff EHS consultant role. Employee benefits are pretty standard. We offer PTO, vacation time, 401k. We match up to 4% if you put in 4%. Pay 100% of your medical, dental, and vision. We also offer long-term disability. And then just from a compensation standpoint, for recent graduates with no experience, we're looking at about $65,000 per year. If you have work experience and you came back to school, we can adjust that upwards depending on, on a case-by-case basis, depending on your experience. And if you're interested in applying, if this sounds good to you, and Matt, if you can go to the next slide, there you go. If you're interested and you think you're a good fit, you can email us at careers@bes-corp.com, and we'd ask if you can include the following, 1 to 3 paragraphs, just briefly introducing yourself and telling us why you're interested in coming to work for the company. If possible, include 2 to 3 references or recommendations, preferably from a manager that you've worked for in the past, or some kind of a leader at a company that you work for, and a copy of your resume. And then, Matt, if you can go to the next page, we've got a QR code that you can scan that goes to our careers page to make it easier. And we can end off just by asking if anyone has any questions that we can answer. And also thanking you again for your time today.
Thank you. That presentation was great. Very
Thank
good. Does anyone have any questions? Grant?
Not necessarily a question, but so I serve as the president for the American Society of Safety Professionals here on campus. And I think I've emailed Matt maybe a few months ago, a couple of exchanges back and forth, but a lot of our meetings throughout the semester involve connecting with our industry partners, and whether it be a technical presentation or recruitment, it's a really good opportunity to have someone from the company come on site or through Zoom and connect with our students for any possible positions that you guys may have, whether it be internships or full-time. I know right now it was tough for this semester just because we kind of prepare pretty early for these meetings. Usually with the previous semester, we'll start that. But for the future, I was curious if you guys would be interested to be included on our industry contact list to possibly set up a meeting between your side and us. This not only includes people in our EOH program for public health, but also we have some engineering students, environmental sciences, among other concentration majors. So I just wanted to extend that offer if y'all are interested.
Yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate that. Yeah, as I mentioned to Dr. Green before, we're trying to set up a long-term, relationship here and a long-term pipeline of interested people. So yeah, absolutely, we would love to do that. So whatever the next steps would be, I don't know if Dr. Green, if you can pass on my email address and we can begin that dialogue. But yeah, we'd really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I would be happy to send you that email with their contact information.
And I think just from my perspective, I think it'll be great, to have that connection. Just a lot of our students, we have both occupational safety based and environmental, and hearing about kind of what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, it's compared to the other companies we have, the scope of responsibilities for y'all is much more, I'll say, open and extended compared to other companies. So I think that's really interesting from that side to hear, especially from consultants. We don't have a lot of consultants that come in, so I'm more than happy to initiate that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Look forward to that.
No problem.
All right, I think we had another question. Yes, ma'am.
If you were to take someone on in the next month or so, one of these apprentices, could you tell us a little bit about any particular projects they'd be working on?
Boy, we got so many projects that we're working on. Do you like specifics, like who we're working with, kind of a real description of what we're doing currently, or just in general?
Just a general overview.
Yeah, I mean, our big focus, we do construction work, but our focus is really manufacturing. So for example, right now we're rolling out a small general contractor that's just getting started with us. We're rolling out a food manufacturer up in the Dallas area. That's going to be a brand new client. We're working with a subcontractor for Tesla who manufactures. I got to be careful about what I talk about, but they do one of the main components in a car for Tesla cars. We're going to help them. They have a lot of robotics. We're working with another company that 3D prints houses. So we're working with another pharmaceutical company. They had to downsize, so they had to let their EHS person go. We're going to step in and help them manage all their environmental programs. I mean, it always looks like that. We're always bringing on new clients, and we're just, exposing our employees to, like Tracy and Matt talked about, a lot of different processes and manufacturing settings and so forth, and always mixing in some construction in there. I hope that helps, but I mean, that's kind of like what we're looking at in the next few months, as we know right now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good question. Yes, ma'am. We have another question.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about the 6 to 9 months kind of intensive training session at the beginning. I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about that. I was curious if you pair up your apprentices with like a full-time consultant, and just kind of what that mentoring process looks like.
Yeah, it's a really defined training process, and I think the best way to describe it is it's going to be a combination of helping our consultants implement and build safety programs from scratch. An example of that could be You know, we might go to work for a company that's got 50 pieces of equipment with multiple energy sources. We've got to build a lockout tagout program for them. So for example, an apprentice might help us go out to the site, take pictures of all the energy sources, start building the lockout tagout procedures, that kind of thing, program building. You know, same thing for, you know, hazard communication, all the other standards, is helping us, you know, create those building blocks for those programs. So a lot of field work combined with administrative work, you know, actually, you know, writing reports after doing inspections, you know, writing those lockout tagout procedures, that kind of thing. So a good mix of field work and then, you know, program building, I think is the best way to describe that. Doing a lot of inspections, a lot of shadowing. You know, we want the experience to be good for our employees. We don't want somebody just sitting behind a desk all day, you know, behind a computer all day getting bored. We want to have a really good mix of field work and then, you know, combined with the, you know, the writing and the reporting and that kind of thing. So hopefully that helps. I mean, that's kind of an overview of what that looks like. But we have, you know, certain milestones over that time period. Also including learning how to train if you haven't trained before, but we have very specific milestones that we want you to hit during that time period. And once you achieve that and you're proficient, you're comfortable, then we can roll you into a, you know, independent consulting role. So hopefully that makes sense and helps.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very good. Any other questions? So this is the question I ask everybody. What is your favorite part about what you do?
Hey, Tracy and Matt, I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
I'll jump right in. I have a lot of experience. As I said, I've been doing health, safety, and environment for 30 years. I've always worked for a large company, usually a Fortune 500 company. You know, trying to drive their culture to focus on employees and not just the bottom line. So what I really enjoy about consulting is that there is just constant people interaction. You don't get stuck in meetings a lot. You don't get, you know, kind of bogged down sometimes with large corporation politics that, you know, you have to kind of maneuver around. It is really kind of grassroots, hands-on, making relationships with people that really need your service. And you're really happy to give it. You're really happy to, I love being in that role where I can really help them achieve things that they want to achieve. So that, to me, that's the most gratifying. It's just having that relationship with the leaders of these small companies that really need that service. And you know, you're really helping them be successful.
Yeah, I think I'm glad Tracy went first because that'll definitely cut a little time off of mine. But pretty much the same thing, you know, looking to impact the lives and legacies of others, and you know, doing so through safety, you know, is a great way to do it. And with consulting here, you get to do it at so many other companies, so you really get to build those relationships with people, and you get to see people like happy to see you, which is another great feeling. You don't always get that when you're at one specific company. They're just like, oh, it's the safety guy, watch out. But you know, at these companies, you know, they're really looking for someone like you. So you know, you get a, hey, oh, it's a safety guy, hey, what's new today, safety guy. So you get a lot of that fun interaction. So that's really the best part about it.
Thanks, Matt and Tracy. That was great.
Very good. Thank you. All right, guys.
I have one more question. Since you work with so many different clients, kind of across industries, I was wondering how you tailor your training programs to each different company, and if you kind of have a standard for what that looks like, or if it really just depends on the client that you're working with.
Tracy or Matt, would you like to try to tackle that, or I can do it? Just want to give you an opportunity. I guess I'll talk.
Tracy's having a little trouble with the mic,
Okay.
so I'll cover for Tracy.
Okay.
So It's kind of a little bit of both. So that we do have a standardized template because the regulation is a regulation is a regulation. However, we do take the time to make sure that it's aligned with the procedures that we made for that site and that we tailor what's in that training to look like the site. Because it's one thing to get a bunch of clip art and be like, well, here's a lockout lock versus actually taking a picture of their lockout station and putting that into the training. So they see, oh, we have a lockout station and oh, it's located right here. So we have a base, but we personalize it to that company. So one, it makes sense, and two, the employees can actually see what a program looks like in reality.
I'll add a little bit to that now that I can unmute myself. Uh, so one of the things that I have found over the years is when you're performing training, people really want to see a reflection of themselves in the training that you're providing. So not just the technical aspect, but they want to be able to say, oh my God, look, that's Matt at that machine. Or, oh God, that's that number 3 machine. It's always something wrong with it. They want to see their daily lives reflected in their training. So they're not just getting the technical aspect of it, but they know that what they're getting specifically relates to them. So just having even those just change of pictures, even though the technical content may be the same, makes people pay more attention to it. They relate to it better. So as Matt mentioned, just those aspects of customization makes a difference. Also, you may have something that's just slightly different because of technology. There may be something specific about the robotics, and you have to understand how the robotics works compared to something else that you've seen in order to make sure that you're capturing all of the safety aspects of that into that part of the training. Like if you were doing machine guarding, their robots might be interactive as opposed to not interactive. So if you have an interactive robot, the mechanisms are going to be a little bit different for maintaining safety around that device. So it's always, you do have to make sure that you're incorporating their unique technical aspects. And that just comes with understanding them, that you're asking them questions, how things work, so that you can incorporate it. But most of the technical part of the training is very, very similar.
Yeah, great answers, Tracy and Matt. Thank you.
Good questions too.
Yeah, great questions.
All right. Anybody else? Great. All right, I think that we've asked all of our questions and y'all done a great job answering them. Just want to say thank you so much for this excellent presentation. Did we not learn a lot about what they do? Yes. Right? And that it has been a great presentation that we've really enjoyed. So thank y'all for your time today.
Thank you too, and look forward to hearing back from you and getting involved in some of those opportunities. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thanks for the engagement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.